Executive Director of the Trauma Healing Center. I just want to start by telling you that our hearts and our prayers are with you as you and your organization go through this very difficult time. This video is intended to be for leadership of your ministry or organization, whether you are pastors, counselors, school teachers, staff, employees, volunteers, whatever your role is. I know that it can be very challenging to personally go through a tragedy, but it can be even more challenging when you are walking your community through that challenge and through to healing. And I just want you to know that as the Trauma Healing Center, we're here to support you and support your community in your healing journey and in your growth in any way that we can. As we talk about the things that we experience when our organization goes through something challenging, as leaders, we have two different things that we're carrying. One is the weight of our own personal response to what has happened. And then the second is the weight that we carry for our community and what they're going through and helping them to heal and grow through very difficult things. That can be really challenging. It's hard to balance them. It's hard to know when to put one above the other, but there are tools and techniques that you can do that will help you take care of yourself and help you take care of your community in a very effective and powerful way. For the purpose of today, I want to talk about that second kind of trauma, that secondary trauma that we as caregivers can often experience when we are leading and helping other people go through difficult and tragic times. I want to talk about 3 different tools that you can utilize to help build your capacity, to help you regulate, and to help you be able to be at your best so that you can help those around you. First one is a term that I learned from Juliet Funt, who wrote the book In a Minute. She has some great practical tools in there for the business world in trying to work on keeping yourself productive and sane when things are not always that way. But one of the concepts that she introduces is called strategic pauses. When Juliet talks about these strategic pauses, she talks about the importance of being very intentional with our time. Whether we pause to just take a moment to breathe, maybe we're in the middle of the crisis, or maybe we are really in the thick of helping people. It's important that even in those moments, we take a few seconds or a minute to just take a deep breath, help regulate our own nervous system, help bring calm and peace to us so that we can pass that along to someone else. Strategic pauses can be longer than that. Strategic pauses can be for an hour. Maybe you take an hour lunch and you go to lunch with someone and you don't talk about what's going on. You don't talk about the heavy stuff. Maybe you talk about the weather or the holidays or summer vacation, or something that will allow your brain to rest, your heart to rest. Sometimes that can be difficult because it may feel like we're ignoring the situation, or we're not giving our all to the problem and to what's happening in the hearts that are struggling all around us. But the reality is our brain needs to rest. It needs to rest in the middle of overwhelm and in the middle of trauma. That's what allows it to re-energize and to be able to go back into what we're doing. Maybe you need something a little longer than that. Maybe you need to plan a day over the weekend where you just tend to yourself, where you go for a run, or you do some journaling, or you sit down with somebody and you do talk about what's going on and how it's impacting you. That is also very, very valuable in your own healing journey and in processing your own trauma that you're experiencing, as well as the secondary trauma of those around you. Strategic pauses are simply that, a pause in your day, in your routine that's very strategic for the purpose of healing and growth. Second tool that I want to talk to you about, so that's kind of the pain and rest and being able to take pauses. Then we have joy and rest. It's very important and again healthy for our brain to experience something positive even in the midst of crisis. When we don't, it's kind of a survival instinct that can kick in, that can create some fear for the future, and even can keep us stuck in a little bit of shock of the moment. Using the word joy in this case can feel a little bit like a betrayal to the crisis that is currently happening. And so sometimes I'll replace that with gratitude, a gratitude and rest cycle, to be able, in the midst of processing your own pain or the pain of people around you, to take a moment and to think of the things that are solid in your life, the things that you're grateful for. When unexpected things happen, that can really rock our world, and it can make us question, what do I have that's solid? What do I have that's not going to change? What do I have that's reliable? So to sit and just take a moment and think about the things that you're grateful for, the things that have been consistent in your life, or maybe things that God has done for you, can really help stabilize your being and give you a foundation to continue to walk forward. The third step that I want to recommend to you is self-regulation, and recognizing when you are dysregulated, when your anxiety is maybe getting a little bit high, or maybe you're just carrying the weight and you're shutting down. Either of those, you're dysregulating, and your brain activity is moving from a place of being in the front where you're very productive and able to think clearly, to kind of shutting down from overwhelm and going to the back. As caregivers in your community, it is really important to recognize when that is happening and not to ignore it. The tendency can be, as caregivers, and I think we've all done it at some point, is to recognize we're getting dysregulated and to just push through, white knuckle it. And we think, we have to be there for the people. We have to be there to care. If I'm not doing it, who's going to be able to? And we see how people all around us are tired. And so we just want to push our way through. But the reality is we're not going full speed, and it's just not healthy. We need to recognize those signs of dysregulation, and then we need to pause. That's not a strategic pause. That's kind of an in the moment, I need to make a choice here. And practice breathing to regulate your system. Focus on those things that are more solid and more positive in your life. Make a connection with somebody around you and just say, hey, I'm struggling. Can we just talk for just a minute? Or will you pray with me? I just need a moment of my own space before I go back to caring. That will help you get your brain back into that right place where you can think clearly and where you can take the steps that you need to take to help yourself and help the people that are around you. So I want to encourage you today that what you're doing is good work. The sacrifices you're making are good sacrifices, and whatever self-care you're doing to this point, I give you a thumbs up for that, because that is super important to keep your own self-care in place. It's kind of like on the airplane. What do they tell you if the oxygen bag drops? Tend to yourself first before the person next to you, because it does no good if you're passed out. You can't help them. And it's the same principle. So what we'd like to do to just kind of further support you, in addition to this video, is we have a booklet that is available called Strategies for Thriving. I'll attach the link to it with this with this video, but you can also download it for free on our website at www.traumahealingcenterkc.com, and then /booklets. And you'll see this with a few others there. And it talks you through the 3 steps that I'm recommending today. And it also gives you a couple really good checklists to see if you are in a place of dealing with secondary trauma or compassion fatigue. As caregivers, sometimes we don't always recognize that. Community caregivers, first responders, counselors, pastors, we don't always recognize our own symptoms. And so sometimes a little checklist to look down can be really helpful. And so all of that is available in this really short, it's 8 pages. So if you're overwhelmed with everything that's going on right now, this shouldn't add to it, because it's simple, but it is very effective. Thank you for letting us come alongside you in this time, and know that we're here to pray for you and support you in any way that we can.